Hello and welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be making Kee-eeef or Kee-eeef from Nuts in May. I made Candice Marie a fair few weeks ago now, and I had every intention to make Kee-eeef pretty shortly afterwards, but I've been putting him off and putting him off, and I think it's because I was a little worried about capturing a likeness of Roger Sloman, but I don't think actually I did a bad job in the end, so let me know what you think. And to get things started, I'm just going to wipe down my clay boards just with a wet wipe and some kitchen roll. It's always good to prep your work area before you get started with polymer clay, as it picks up everything, as you'll well know actually if you're a polymer clay artist too. And as always, I'm going to start with Kee-eef's head. And I'm just using my blaze cutting tool here because it took a few attempts actually to get a head that I was happy with. So of course if you work your clay and rework it, it's going to pick up, you know, debris that's kicking around. And it never seems to matter how clean you are. It's always a case of your polymer clay picking up some random bits of dirt or debris. So I finally reached a head here that I was happy with, and this took around 3 hours in the end, I think, maybe a little longer. So helpfully I saved some of the green clay that I used for Candice Marie's base, as it's always good, you know, to try and match up pairs of models if possible in terms of colour. And yeah, just moving on to the base now really. So I was going to look up some facts for Roger Sloman, who plays Kee-eeef. Well, I did look up some facts actually, and yeah, he's had a quite an interesting acting career. I think probably Nuts in May was maybe his biggest role to date, so far anyway. Although he was also in Grange Hill, which was kind of interesting. I think it was 78, so it was way before my time, so I really don't remember him in it at all really. I was kind of more a Baxter, is it Baxter, who was the PE teacher kind of era person? I'm pretty sure it was Baxter. I should have looked that up really, but oh well. And who else was there at the time? Gonch was probably the character that springs mostly to mind for me, so it's a little later on in Grange Hill that was my era, I think. So I'm just going to mix up some brown clay here, along with some sort of remnants from old projects. I always tend to mix my clay colours actually. I often get asked what colour clays that I use, but other than the sort of binary basics, I tend to always mix my own colours because I like to use up old clay where possible as well. And it's always nice to have unique colours, I think. You know, it's always adds to your own individuality in terms of creative work. And Roger Sloman was also in Crossroads and EastEnders, which are a couple of soaps or soap operas here in the UK. EastEnders is still going, but Crossroads is no longer. But he's mainly known as a stage actor, I think. He's appeared at the National a few times. So yeah, a really interesting career there. So I'm just going to make his legs here. And in case you're wondering, I'm going to base Kee-eef's outfits on the Nuts in May poster here. As you know, I matched up Candice Marie's outfits accordingly, so it's quite a striking image I think, and it works really well. So just moving on to his face here, and it's just evidences that it took a few attempts to get his face right, because I played around with the eyes here forever actually, so these aren't the eyes that ended up on the model. I have been asked a few times now about showing my process on how I put faces together, but I have to say I've no plans to do that. It's really difficult as an artist because like all of my process videos, they're not tutorials. They're just really to give you an idea of how my models come together. And you know, like every artist out there, I have to protect my work or my aesthetic as much as I can. So yeah, apologies for that if that was something that you wanted to see, but again, I've no plans to do that, unfortunately. I will, however, perhaps look into the basics of making faces at some point for beginners, either here or on Skillshare. I'm not quite sure at the moment, but yeah, just to give you an idea of perhaps how you can experiment with faces. But yeah, I won't be covering my own style, and I'm sure you'll understand why if you're an artist too. So now I'm going to move on to his body, and I'm just using again some old clay here. It's always helpful to have a little stash of offcuts from previous projects. As you know, polymer clay isn't the cheapest of art materials, so it's always good to use it in whatever form you can. And as regular viewers will know, I have a little problem with traffic noise. Basically my studio's on quite a busy road, so apologies for any background noise that you hear. I do try my best to cut it out in editing, but you know, it's not always possible to remove everything, so yeah, I'll try my best. And I'm just going to check for size here, just to ensure that he's taller than Candice Marie, and yeah, happy with that. I noticed last week that I had a few people watching my process video for Candice Marie, so that was quite interesting because, you know, after an initial flurry of people watching your videos, they tend to kind of fall off the radar, so that was quite nice to see a few people watching it, so hopefully they'll stumble across this one too. And again, if you've not seen Nuts in May, I'd heartily recommend it. It's a bit of a cult classic here in the UK now. It's just about a kind of camping trip where a middle-class vegetarian couple who, you know, are seemingly kind of liberal, kind of open-minded people go along on a camping trip, but they're immediately annoyed by their neighbours, you know, having the radio on and stuff. Yeah, it's really funny actually. I'd strongly suggest that you track it down if you've not seen it already. It's one of Mike Leigh's best films, I think, so yeah, go and have a look. So now I need to make an apron for Keith, just like so, in case you were wondering what it was. And I spent quite a lot of time experimenting with this apron because sometimes with polymer clay, as much as I like detailed work, it looks a lot better for being kind of simple. So you'll see I experimented with some white strips here, but it really added nothing to the overall aesthetic and was quite distracting to the eyes. So yeah, I tried a few different styles, but I took those off. So yeah, it was a case of keep it simple for this one. So I'm just going to attach Keith's arms here. And work a little further on his hair. And there he is, all done. And yeah, I was really pleased with this one because I was really unsure about capturing a likeness on Keith, but I think I did a pretty good job. And here's Keith with Candice Marie. And at this point I'd usually show you a fan art poster, but I think I'm going to save that possibly for a video for next week where I'll show you a little behind the scenes maybe on how I've put together a poster. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Hope you enjoyed that, and I'll be back really soon with another video, so Take care out there, stay safe, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.